Hi, my name is Bob Peelman. I'm the Director of Wealth Management with the OJM Group. Today, part of our monthly OJM webcast series, we will have a webinar on dynamic retirement planning. Before we get started, I'm going to start out with a couple of our disclaimers. We're an SEC registered investment advisory firm with our principal place of business here in the state of Ohio. Read over these as we get into the presentation. I'd like to start out and touch on some of the materials we have written here at OJM, which are free to our attendees. I'd like to emphasize our Four Doctors Only book and Fortune Building for business owners and entrepreneurs. All of these books can be accessed at the end of our presentation with a free book code, which we will provide you. So topics for today. We're going to talk a little bit about our firm, what we do, how we work with clients. We're also going to dive in specifically, as the initial slide discussed, is dynamic retirement planning and what that really means, understanding what a true retirement analysis is. We're going to walk through a sample client that we've created with some basic information that may or may not apply to your specific situation, but hopefully as you see how we go through this with our clients and prospects, you have a better understanding of if that's something that you feel makes sense for you, and it'll give you the right types of questions to be asking your advisors if you're receiving that type of retirement planning analysis. And then we'll end and we'll conclude with next steps of what you can do to have a consultation with our firm and access that free book. So let's get right into the presentation. What you see here is a main screen of what we consider a dynamic retirement plan. And what I mean by that, what our firm believes very strongly in, is retirement planning for years has been done exclusively with gathering data, inputting that data, and having an output of an analysis, typically a 20, 30-page document that a planner will review with a client. And many times what we find is those documents really need to be very much dynamic, living, breathing, changing, allowing during a presentation a client to make changes, ask questions, alter some of the variables such as rate of return, inflation, taxes. This will allow for not only a more accurate output, but I think a clear understanding of what needs to be done to reach your retirement goals. So what we have here is how we present to our clients retirement planning. After we've gathered data and look at the basic profiles of John and Sally Smith here, we've got their ages, we've got their incomes, and we start with the most basic questions. When would you like to retire? What retirement date in your mind would you envision retirement? What's your goal? We put this in here, and again, all of this is editable. We can slide this and change this and look at some of these different assumptions. But the second most pointed discussion that John and Sally are probably going to have, aside from their ideal time for retirement, is right here, this after-tax retirement income goal. Very important to have that discussion with your spouse about what retirement looks like for you and your family. It's different for every client that we come across. Some clients like to travel a lot. Some clients want to downsize their home and move to another destination, maybe be around grandkids. It's very much a different discussion, and we'll help with that. As you go through this process, we will help you understand what that number might be for you and what makes sense, and based on what you're spending today and what we typically see clients spending in those first years of retirement. But once we get this after-tax income goal, we want to create some inflation to it. So we want to make sure that it's keeping up with some stated rate of inflation, and we typically apply around 2.5% to those numbers. And this particular client wanted to have the same amount of income for their spouse depending on who would pass away first. The surviving spouse in this case would be having the same amount of income continuing. And again, that's a discussion that we have as we go. The next thing we're going to look at is income sources in retirement, and this will be income outside of an investment portfolio. So particular clients, we've inputted their, excuse me, their Social Security income at both of their retirement dates. We also have a rental property. So they have a rental property that is going to begin generating $2,400 a month of income starting in the year 2035. We also have John's pension, which is a modest pension of $450 a month beginning at age 65. These are the income sources that they're going to have outside of part-time work or portfolio investment income, but income that they can count on to be generated as part of that after-tax income goal. And we can create a variety of different incomes, different scenarios, pensions, to work into here. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other scenarios we can run when it comes to how we put income into the system, whether it be different properties you own and have a mortgage and how you want to account for that. We can do that right here in the retirement income sources page. As we come to assets, we put in a couple different types of assets. So this particular client, we have in their home, and the home is really a balance sheet item for them here to account for their asset side of the ledger. Their goal is not to sell their home in retirement, but we can certainly show clients selling a home, downsizing, taking out equity from a home and applying that to possibly retirement income. But for this particular client, we're going to leave the home as just a balance sheet item. We have John's 401k, which he's currently funding at the maximum. He actually owns his particular business or practice, and he's putting away his maximum deferral along with his profit sharing. And he's going to do this from now until his retirement goal. Again, the rental property that they have is just a balance sheet item, not going to factor in outside of the income it delivers. We're not going to be selling it to generate any capital in retirement. They have a joint investment account that they're currently funding with $50,000 per year, and we're going to keep that in here. That's their goal, to continue to save $50,000 extra into that investment account. And then Sally has a 401k to which she's putting in a $25,000 per year, and she's going to continue to do that now through retirement. They each have a small Roth IRA as well, which they're not funding. So on the asset side, they're at $3.7 million. They have just some basic term insurance for each of them, death benefits, which depending on how we model out the possibility of one of them passing away early, we can see if they have the proper amount of insurance, and certainly do a full analysis on not only if they have the proper amount of insurance, but is it the right type. Liabilities, they have a $450,000 mortgage on their primary residence as well as a mortgage on the rental property. We have their two children, ages 12 and 8, into the system. And then we come into what looks like a pretty scary screen with a lot of moving parts and numbers. And this is where we spend the most amount of time during our retirement analysis, whether we're sitting down face-to-face with our clients or we're sharing our screen like today with a GoToMeeting and making it very interactive. This is where we do all of the scenarios, what-if scenarios, to really make our clients fully understand if they're able to reach the goals they're setting or if we need to alter some of those goals. So what we look at here is, here's all the different buckets that we have. We've got their salary, which obviously starting at age 65 and 63 will go away. They're not going to have any income. They're both going to fully retire. They're both going to have Social Security, which will have a cost of living adjustment attached to it. And you'll see here the Social Security will last through these key data points through John and Sally's life. The rental property, we're going to increase the rental property by 1%, the income it's going to generate, but you can see we're turning on that income, that annual income here throughout retirement. We have John's pension, which is increasing by 2%. And then here are the investment balances. So between now and retirement, we have put in if you look down at the bottom, a rate of return of around 6.5% before retirement, and that is an average rate of return. These particular clients want to keep a lower expected rate of return for how they have built their portfolio, and an after retirement return of 5%. So if they continue to fund the 401k with $53,000 and we can average 6.5%, if they continue to put $50,000 a year into their joint account and $25,000 into Sally's, and these buckets of money continue to earn this 6.5%, it would be estimated that they would have about $11.1 million of investable assets starting at age 65 and 63. Now, keep in mind, their goal is also inflating. So that $275,000 of after-tax income starting at age 65 and 63 is really going to be $418,000 of after-tax income because we're inflating that. So at a 32% tax, because some of this money, again, joint investment account is going to be coming out, ordinary income will not all be taxed the same way. And certainly the way we manage assets for clients is very much about reducing taxes significantly on the distribution. And that's really a key part of the distribution phase when you're planning is what buckets you're taking from and how to manage that tax effectively. So as we look at this, we can see this client, the goal that they have stated, we're going to run into a little bit of trouble. And if we look at it here from the all years, you'll notice they're going to have a problem right when we get at the very end of their life. We have Social Security paying them. Here are their ages. We have the pension, which is guaranteed for both of their lives. We have the other income coming from rentals, money coming from their qualified bucket. Their non-qualified bucket, we tapped that very early. That's the first place we pulled from so we could allow these tax-free dollars to continue to grow. And you can see this net income goal, they're reaching this all the way to the end. And so what we don't want to have happen for our clients is to make it that close, meaning the ending assets going right to the very end. You really want to create a cushion because there's a lot of market variables here that would allow them to feel a little anxiety about their ability to reach this goal. So the first thing we'll do is we'll say, well, let's solve keeping your income goal where you want it, retiring when you want. How much more do we need to save on a monthly basis to get you to accomplish this goal? The first target we look at is we say, if we wanted to build in, say, $1 million cushion to allow them to have about $1 million at the end, not including their property, not including their rental property, just their investable assets, a little bit of that extra cushion, they're going to need to put in roughly $2,800 a month or around $33,600 per year to add to this brokerage account or some other vehicles to enable to reach this goal at this 6.5% with $1 million. Okay, so we start there, and many clients here will either say, we're fully maxing out what we can do. What else can we adjust? So we'll take this back out. We don't really want to get into scenarios where we're adjusting rates of return to try to reach goals because, again, we want to make things pretty conservative. The hope is when you build a portfolio based on your overall risk, that we'll be able to reach your target return from building that portfolio. So if clients have a higher tolerance for risk, we might be a little further up the spectrum here, 7, 8, 9%. Certainly we can talk about what the level of risk also needs to be in retirement. But again, all these things we can model out that allow us to do some pretty neat things where we can come in and stress test a 30% drop in the market, right before retirement and move that 30% drop in different periods, which is very important. We can look at 3 bad years. Think back if a client were to retire in, say, 2007 or 8, you would have that 08, 09 period of time, which would be a very stressful and difficult period of time to begin to take money from your portfolio. Well, we can also look at a bad decade. What does a bad decade look like, where we had much more down years than we've had up years? So these are all things that we can come in and model out and have a discussion about. But the rate of return, we try to avoid, sort of playing with that to reach a client's goal. We really want to focus in on some of the variables that are much more controllable. So certainly the client can look at taking less income, possibly taking, getting it down into this range right in here, very much will allow them to do what it is that they want it to do. You can see it's not because of the biggest variables here are the amount of income need and the time for savings, along with that compounding interest rate. Many times we'll show clients here that, if we just reduce some of these expectations just a little bit, you're able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Many times, though, we want to leave it right there. We can look at retiring later. What's it look like if you deferred a couple years? This particular client, it would have a very big difference. And if we think about why, you got 2 more years for this to average 6.5% during different market cycles. 2 more years where you're adding money, and also 2 more years where you're not pulling out these significant amounts of money. So obviously deferring retirement is a big part of it. But again, we can play with this and look at what an early retirement looks like, and also look at things like, what if one of them pass away early and you have that life insurance, and look at the different amounts of life insurance. So as I say, when we look at things like this with our clients, this is something that we pull up on an annual basis. We're going to want to look at it as a part of how we build investment portfolios. We're going to make it very dynamic, and we can actually present this in a way where you're going to get a hard copy of your net worth, your account overview. So you're going to be able to come in here and really look at, during our portfolio review meetings, where am I? How has the recent market correction possibly affected my portfolio? What if I now have the ability to save a little bit more? What if for some reason I feel like I need to retire a little quicker? So again, I think it's very important to think about a dynamic retirement plan, one that's very interactive, where again, you can look at things like taxes and change those variables. Again, look at changing the market variables and going back in here and assessing, when we look at the balance sheet, what if we did sell the home and bought a home for $500,000 and took out this equity and applied it? What would that look like? What would it look like if I was unable to put this amount of money for a 5-year period of time, or I can start 5 years from now putting into the investment account, different periods of times of savings, or paying down the debt, or not paying down the debt. These are all things, again, that I think are very important when you're sitting down with your advisor, and really should be the foundation for how you build investment portfolios, how you look at your overall financial plan from an estate planning standpoint, life insurance, benefit planning. All of these things really come down to what you're trying to accomplish for you and your family, your retirement goals, and are you currently doing the things you need to do to reach those? Okay, so what we'd like to do now, so as we look at concluding with this presentation, I'd like to talk a little bit about how we work with our clients here at OJM. As I mentioned, we're a multidisciplinary financial planning firm with over 1,000 clients throughout the country, helping business owners, physicians, families, in a variety of areas of planning, from asset protection, tax reduction, corporate structure, benefit planning, retirement planning, insurance, and wealth management. All of these components of a sound financial plan have a thread that runs through them that, if done right in a coordinated manner, will allow you to reach your goals in a way that you're fully educated, have a clear understanding of, and you're committed to. And that's really what we're looking to do at OJM. We will also be able to help with both your practice and personal planning. If you are a physician, business owner, we can look at your corporate structure and help in some of those areas. We help clients not only in our local area here in Cincinnati, where our main headquarters is, but we have offices in Arizona, New York, Florida, and clients in over 48 states. Next steps To get a free copy of For Doctors Only or Fortune Building for Business Owners and Entrepreneurs, a free consultation, feel free to contact myself at the numbers below or my email address. If you've got questions about this presentation or how it works, we'd be happy to schedule that consultation and learn more about your personal situation and how we might be able to help. You'll see the promo code here, which is WEB0316 at checkout to receive your free book or ebook for Kindle or iPad. Thanks for attending this presentation.